shepherds? It's June. The sheep have been nursing their lambs for some time now. I usually practice some form of milk sharing where the lambs get their own play area and the moms get their own break room, but as I'm still working on building the area in small increments, I'm just milking the extra out. It's not as much as true milk sharing, but it's enough to fill up the fridge and we have some fun crafting with. One of the best parts of my day is during milking time. The sheep really enjoy it. Lamie in particular, the queen of the flock, will call me to come and milk everyone. The lambs are growing so big and starting to learn about the milking stand. Though I don't milk the little ones, I find it helps to introduce the future milkers to the process. Think of it as a sheepy internship. We have one modern dairy sheep and the rest of the flock you see here are our heritage Shetland sheep. I love the sheer milkiness of our dairy sheep. The wool not so much really. And with the Shetlands, they have good milk production, as well as such fine wool to boot. I also love how I feel like I'm connecting with my ancestors with such an ancient breed. So today let's channel our ancestors through churning butter. First off, let's get our milk. If you don't have any sheep, goats, milk cows, or dairy chickens, store-bought cream is fine. It's important to use whipping cream or double cream for the best results. Also, for those of you using store-bought cream, you can skip this step. If you're using fresh homegrown milk, the simplest method to get cream is to set your milk container in the fridge undisturbed for several hours, but ideally overnight. The cream will slowly rise to the top, which will then skim and reserve to make our other delicious products. How much cream will you get? Well, that's another story, but in short, depending on the breed of livestock, stage of lactation, diet, health, as well as the individual livestock within the breed itself, can all affect how much cream you get. There are methods to learn about how to increase your cream content, tests you can run from home to find out about your livestock butterfat levels, and more. But that will be beyond the scope of this video for today. On to the cream. The cream will be much thicker from your homegrown milk than the cream you traditionally buy from the store. I usually reserve a couple days worth of cream so I can make butter in bulk batches. With the skimmed milk, I set it aside to use in cheese making, cooking, or making ice cream at a later time. Though it's skimmed, it's not machine skimmed, so there's enough of that good stuff there to make any more yummy things to eat, or even some luxury soaps and lotions. So once we ladle all that creamy goodness into our container, some people may add their cultures now to make a cultured buttermilk, but here I'm making what's called a sweet cream butter. Cultured butter has its role in the home, but I like sweet cream butter for its blank canvas potential in cooking. For our first method, this only requires two things, maybe three: your jar, your cream, and maybe some arm strength. I'm using a small mason jar filled halfway, tightly seal the lid, and shake. I'm using cold cream. The shaking process warms the cream up, but I've heard starting with room temperature cream will make the process faster. I'm shaking in a steady, rhythmic pattern, and when my arm gets tired, I switch up to exercise another muscle group. I remember the first time I saw a person churn butter was when I was around 10 years old. We had a class trip at a historical recreation village, and when I watched her form butter before my very eyes, my inner nerd stirred. So shout out to all my SCA folks. So back to the butter baby. The jar shake is a simple method and definitely yields results. When making butter at home, it's a very slow at first and then fast. What I mean by that is a whole lot of nothing happens for a while. And then bam, butter bits. So what can you expect to see during the process? It may look foamy and bubbly at first. Keep on shaking. Next up, you may see a bit of texture or graininess start to form. Keep on shaking. Once you see the liquid start to separate out, this is when the buttermilk breaks and releases the butter. I like to shake it a bit more out. The butter baby will start to come together, and then strain the buttermilk out easier. As we see the break, the liquid is the buttermilk, and those crumbles are the butter bits. Now we pop this back in the fridge to chill some and harden a bit. Also, I ran out of time and have to come back to it later. Okay, so let's wash the butter. With this step, our aim is to express as much of the buttermilk out as possible. The better you get all that trapped buttermilk out, the longer the butter will last. On that note, for a truly shelf-stable butter though, I recommend what's called canning or clarifying the butter or making ghee, depending on the cultural tradition. Okay, so back to washing. It's important to work with icy cold water and keep your butter cool as well. If you have really hot hands or if you have Reynolds, I find it helpful to use spoons or a paddle like this one I got from sushi making kit. I am reserving the waste milk water for our chickens, but I'm sure tomato plants would love this as well. I keep on refreshing the wash with more cold water, and I'm trying to wash as much as possible until the water runs clear. The butter softens as we work it, and here I'm shaping the butter. Just kind of squish it into shape, and then pop it in the fridge when you're happy with it. Next up, let's bring this up to speed. Everyone has their favorite kitchen gadget, whether you want to use a food mixer, a blender, food processor, or an old-timey butter churn. I'm using a stick blender. The process is the same as earlier. Agitation plus time equals butter bits. I'm only filling up my jar halfway, This helps with any messiness and the whip stage prior to the other stages. I'm using cold cream reserved from the milk we collected from earlier. So this will yield a sweet cream butter as opposed to culture butter or salted butter. This technique is much faster than the simple shaky jar method. And fun! In short order we blast through the whip stage, then the foamy stage and bubbly stage, and rapidly approach the grainy or textured stage. Just a bit more agitation and we arrive at the break. So you may notice how pale the sheep butter is. Just like with goat milk and goat milk products, the butter lacks the sheer amount of beta-carotene that cow or chicken products will transfer to their products. I think this is perfect for making white cake, but if you prefer your butter yellow, an old-timey trick still used in some areas today is adding saffron, turmeric, or annatto seed powder or extract to the cream. I'm not doing that today, but there are so many ways to get creative with butter, both flavor-wise with herbs and flowers, as well as shaping it more. Let me know what you end up doing to your butter. Now, once again, let's press and wash this butter. After several more washes and rinses, and pressing the buttermilk out, the water's starting to run clear. It's pretty hot today, and you can see some of the butter melting to the sides here. I'm just collecting as much of that pressed butter out and forming it. It's pretty soft, so I'm going to chill it down for about 10 to 15 minutes and form again. Now that it's passable as butter, it's time to enjoy it. It's so good! Can you imagine? Now we have our own fresh, organic, grass-fed butter. It's such a luxury to be able to access these gourmet ingredients at home.
Hi guys.
It's a lot of hard work, but the reward is worth it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you really want to start a fight about butter in the comments, it would really help my algorithm. Thank you so much. In the meantime, stay soft and happy farming.